Hi guys, thank you for joining me. Paulina here, talking to you about Jupiter retrograde. It has entered our X zone on December the 12th, so that was yesterday. It is going into retrograde on March the 8th, 2018. It is going direct on July the 10th, 2018, and on October the 6th, it's leaving the RX zone. So this is a very lengthy little transit, and it is all happening between 13 degrees and 23 degrees Scorpio. So when this happened yesterday, I felt it. I have to say I felt it when it went into shadow, because all of a sudden it's almost like you want to get things done. There is a feeling I feel well, between December the 12th and March the 8th, which will be escalating. And I feel the feeling is fear for your life for some people. It could be fear for not getting enough done for some other people. For other people, I feel it could be about meaning and purpose and focus. And for others, it could be about sexual experiences and not having enough or having too much. It could be, I've been bringing up for a while, a sexually transmitted disease for a while. So I'm feeling there's going to be a big wave of those surfacing. So things that are deep and dark, our little secrets coming through during this time. But before that, I felt leading up to the 12th of December, there was a very nice surfacing energy. And the surfacing energy to me felt like there was something kind of on the lips, kind of in the heart, kind of in the back of the mind, or like almost forward. There was something that was sort of coming through and didn't know how. And here it should just release. So the shadow, I feel the shadow is actually quite a wondrous time to just look at it and go, oh, this is what I'm worried about. Like, say I'm worried about being alienated, or I'm worried about being ostracized, or I'm like really afraid of my sexual choices in the past. I'm really afraid as to what this means now. I'm scared of this or scared of that, or I haven't got enough dreams that have come true. I've got too many dreams, things to do, and things have to just be open now, be here now. So now it's December the 13th, and they should be kind of like, oh, right, like there was a tightening, and an intensifying of Jupiter, and now that it's gone into shadow, I feel that there should be, unlike we expected, no tension. There should actually be kind of like, oh, kind of like a breath, and a feeling of almost like satisfaction from finally saying what it is that's on your mind. So perhaps you're somebody who's finally getting that test done. Maybe you're a person who finally kind of sees what you're up against. Maybe you're somebody who is finally seeing where you're going towards, or perhaps not. Perhaps you're somebody who's just feeling like, okay, it's about to blow. Okay, it's about to come out. The truth is about to come out, or that feeling is about to end. There is something changing, and there's almost like a release through that, because I feel there's a suction that almost like sucks you in like a wave, and I feel that there is a dimension happening here where people can get sucked in. So I was telling you guys about Jupiter and Scorpio, don't get sucked into anything. So a dimension where people can get sucked in and decide for themselves really quickly a purpose if they haven't yet had one, or they could become really enamored and twisted up with a partnership that's new, perhaps it's not very wholesome, or they can make a decision to have a baby because they're afraid of having children too late. So definitely with Jupiter here, I would suggest that meaning, purpose, dreams, serious things, sensuality for some people it's magic and mystery, that has to change as a concept. And through this year, I feel that by September, we'll start smiling at these things, and we won't any longer hold them in the depth of us like this huge thing. So it's got to be, I feel, said that there is no drama. There's no drama. So where you are feeling tension, I feel now, perhaps in the beginning of certain passages through time and some kind of situation, maybe you're committing your life to somebody or something, or you're starting to see something new in yourself, or maybe you're trying out new things that you feel will give you meaning, don't. So basically it feels to me that this December leading up to March, we're going to start this purpose, or some people might get married for the wrong reasons, or people might like ascend very fast, but in a really funny way, like meaning they don't have enough perhaps courage to face their 3D, but they've gone really far out there in some other dimension, they can't come back. So things can go AWOL, like things can go crazy. People can just like walk off cliffs and not know that they've done it. Like it's almost like people, I feel, creating a very, very, very strong bonding here with something that they feel is of purpose or of meaning, but don't do that. It feels to me that perhaps Scorpio is very enlightening for some who have always done it. Say, for example, they've always done yoga and now they're going to commit and do a master course of yoga. That's perfect for you if you're interested in something like that. If, for example, you've done a lot of tantric work, or you've done a lot of religious or spiritual work, or religiously and spiritually guided work for many, many months, and then this is the time to really truly establish it. Like start your own business or brand if you're really knowing, and if you know that you're knowing and you've had like a really good result with people, or maybe take a step back and look at it again. But it is not the type of chance where you just go, all right, so I've never had this on the mind, or I've kind of had this on the mind a little bit, I'm just going to commit. I'm just going to commit to this whole new way of life, and especially anything to do with psyche. The psyche, and also the murmur of the deep, you know, suddenly I'm going to start doing this thing, I'm going to start doing healings and podcasts if a person has never really done something like that before and never really considered it. But if it's been a sturdy path, you might see that there is an upliftment, but as long as you still yourself, like, because this is a fixed sign, it's got to be like stilled so that it can build. It's not really something that you just rip at. I feel anything that's ripping and anything that is just grabbing for the crown is really harsh. But there aren't actually that many people that are doing this. But I feel, however, there are some people that perhaps think that they're in the greatest light or greatest service, and it looks like a really humble thing. But if you, like, for example, see a psychologist or psychiatrist, you'll see that the humbleness sometimes underneath has a layer of anger and like freakiness. So it's not an easy time to build onto something, especially for the purpose of serving another, the purpose or the pride and the purpose of doing something, the pride and the purpose of doing something for other people, the pride of being one with something that's really big. That's another thing that I feel can surface, is trying to speak the truth for all people, unless you've done this connectively for a long time. There could be like a feeling, I'm a proud like a feeling, I'm a proud frequency, I want to share my story, and that's really beautiful. But it might be really nice to see where the roots lie, and also what is between you and other people during this time. And I feel there's been probably like building up a lot of sob stories, a lot of crying, because people are not reacting to the past the same as they were. So we're kind of like probably like, you know, we talked about this earlier, about how the truth and the past and what you kind of thought was true, like say 6 or 7 years ago, isn't really any longer going to be reacted to the same way. I've mentioned this in my blog over and over, that we have to stop recycling the same feelings and stories from past and start going to the future. There will be pockets where we can really purge the past, but this is not it. And it feels to me that it's a really, really nice time to marvel at yourself as you've become through space and time, especially now in December. It's a really beautiful time to see yourself as a child, as a never-ending energy, and it's not something that has to really have a crown above its head to have meaning or have some kind of depth or dimension. It is something that's always been there, and if you can see your truth and kind of resonate with yourself through space and time without having to say, but she did this, but they did this, but they would never allow me, but this is the government's choice, and la la la, and I don't have any grounding here. So not having that phenomena where a lot of people are fighting something for the rest of their lives. And because we are in such an embedding year coming, it feels to me that it might be very, very harsh if we are constantly looking for somebody else as an aggressor, or we are looking at something else as a kind of like unkind energy. And this type of Jupiterian progress here through to March, especially in shadow, I feel brings out people that can't cry by themselves, and they want to cry with another person watching. And this is going to be, like, I feel, a big thing for any kind of group activity, any kind of group show where a person will say, but my ancestors, you know, but my mother, you know, but my father. and it becomes this huge pride that is needed sometimes in certain aspects. But I feel here people are using it as a scapegoat to reconnect themselves to the greater truth in a cunning way, which they don't think is cunning. So I'm seeing people coming out of the woodwork, giving their life story or their life choices the spotlight, which is not needed. So I've been kind of preparing people, I suppose, like for the last few weeks, saying there's going to be a time where we're not talking about the past, where we're actually enjoying the moment and seeing each other for who we are. And within that energy, we can achieve most things. We can recognize a lot, and just the here and now. We don't have to reiterate and especially relive old spaces that our ancestors have been through, and old things that we've done and have been done to us. We don't have to talk about the past, basically. So that's something that I feel is quite important for this transit, unless you're a historian or you're somebody who works with archives, or you are somebody who spent most of their lives collecting, most of your life collecting things. That totally makes sense. But if you are not somebody who is that way wired, it is not likely that it's going to help to go backwards here. And I've also mentioned 2016 especially was a wondrous year to sell your old stuff. It was a great year to benefit from old buildings and old places, especially with Uranus, how it was at the time. And it was definitely a time to remember, but this isn't. And it's not going to work unless you're trying to make it something. And this is the horrible thing that I feel could happen, as people starting to wave a banner, a flag that they don't understand, that's been around for thousands of years or hundreds of years, and they probably don't want to know what it is about. They just like the feeling of importance. And that I feel creates a really, really sticky situation for us all, because sometimes we don't know what to say to that. It's like my ancestors have gone through this, and of course everybody's got a lot of empathy for that, because we are all one. Actually, we've merged at a really, really high frequency in the recent shifts. Not the one that's gone, but the one before. And I have a feeling that a lot of people will resonate with things that aren't theirs. So definitely keep on track, have a look at what's yours. If you are somebody who is like me and you don't usually feel like you got a purpose, meaning like you can do things and at the same time you don't really want to structure yourself into anything. Like you can kind of see where you are and what you can do, but you sort of detached to the point where you can die tomorrow laughing. You know what I mean? If you are somebody like me, it's not okay. It's not okay. So this is a very interesting blade. It's like an edge of the blade where you have to sort of like start listening to yourself also, and start paying attention to the different parts of your dream, because there are parts of us that are inevitably, going to die, and there's also a part of us that stays, and this part sometimes can rule our life and not want to do anything else. So with that infinite part that doesn't really mind what happens tomorrow and doesn't mind if the house burns down and anything like that happens that is not so good, it is not okay to vibrate that as the primary self unless you got there through like insatiability or disease or disorder, and you just can't be anywhere else. But if you can, please consider that this is a pacting year, like it's a pact, like it's a sealing year, and it could be very, very nice to maybe connect to some people who can help you feel held or loved or vulnerable somehow, because if there are parts of you that are vulnerable and that are afraid and that are very feeling, as sometimes what happens with people who are really far out, quite often there is a part of them that's not compacted enough in the physical. Be really, really nice to be strongly held, or to be in a stronghold during this time. And if you're also like me, who works alone or who feels very much distant from others, especially after March, April, we are going into a dog year really soon, and this becomes an energy. You might already feel this, like the needing to howl, the needing to crow, the needing to express and to dance a dance of life more. There is a feeling, I feel, in all of us where we can't quite get there with others, or like when others call us, or we can't quite connect to a possibility if we don't feel grounded or we don't feel stable as a human being. And this is really hard for us all, actually. But the psychic world especially, I feel, is going to create a lot of turmoil, ups and downs for a human. perhaps such as myself, who's always done this alone. So it's a very interesting situation, very interesting idea to tie yourself into memberships and pacts, but know that you're not doing that for the belief. And this is difficult. For some, it's not difficult, but it's not really so much about the belief. It's about the communion and the union, the unison with other people. Having a teacher, having, like, say, a master class person, a master, having somebody who teaches you, who holds your hand, who replaces, a mother or father figure. And some people that can teach you a thing or two as well, because it's very, very disassociating during this type of transit to suddenly begin to develop your wings really, really fast, but in the same rate not knowing what a human being is, or not really caring what the human experience is for. So a lot of people, I feel, could lose almost the earth from under their feet and decide that they can fly, and not really see what for, because at the end they just come back to themselves and the whole world becomes a small mirror to something that is quite big inside. So scale of soul, scale of also ego, and scale of creativity is really, really harsh here. So for example, if you're an artist or a musician, you're a poet, or you're like a politician, you're somebody who people marvel at, be careful here. Try to stay loose, so you can change things and create and develop and be and bring new things forward, and perhaps see more purpose for what you're doing, but at the same time lower yourself a little bit, just so you can have friends and people that are on the same vibration as yourself, because sometimes during this type of year we can lose out if we don't think that other people have the heart to express to us, if we think that other people don't really have the confidence that we do, or we feel that another person will never understand what we're on about. And this creates a very interesting syndrome sometimes during these types of loops, especially with the rest of the sky, of course, as well as mentioned. It is not a good time to correlate to the purpose to such an extent where nothing else is. And this is a difficult time for, Wunderkind, it's like for the genius people, for the prodigy people who don't actually see anybody else, because they've forgotten how, as they've been looking at their screen, or they've been looking at their page or their business or something like that for such a long time. So have a look at how you can make money and business along the lines of I've got it, I got it. You got to believe that you have it and not question it and not shake it, but also not to wear it as a hat, like a crown, that you then can't take off. So it's a very difficult, I feel, voyage of the soul and a choice that some people will have to make. But another thing that I feel about this particular Jupiterian transit, if you want to talk money, we can. I feel that for now, before maybe the 12th of December, you might have seen that money could be, couldn't be, could be, couldn't be. And it feels to me that not many people are that money orientated as they've been. Like, say, if we're looking at the 90s and 2000s, I'm feeling that I felt this for a long time, that people were all about the mighty dollar. And it feels to me that though that veneer is still there, that feeling is still there, there is actually a lot more of us that are making it or not making it, but we don't actually really feel anything about it. There is no feeling about, we're not coiling or cowering or freaking out or fearing. And there's not a lot of people that I feel even are really that celebratory of becoming, like, say, a millionaire or like a gazillionaire. They're kind of like, oh yeah, it did happen. So because I feel we are actually in a really nice, healthy and healing place with money, it is not such a good idea to resemble a person during this time that has or hasn't got. This is going to sound weird. I feel that we've gone to a new frontier with money, and it's more about the personality or the archetypes now financially, like more than the actual money itself. Because we don't actually have money anymore. We just have numbers on a screen. We just have a digital system that basically controls all things, or is going to become a multi-powered mechanism. But it feels to me it's like the surveillance system, the electronic systems, the artificial intelligence, credit cards, banks. It's all just as a digitized. It's the same system, and including the internet. Yeah, so what I feel is that we're going to start to develop the character more than we are going to really think about the actual logistics of the numbers and are they enough to pay for certain things. And this, I feel, is becoming a very, very interesting dream of mine, because I'm actually seeing that people can turn what money means to them if they live a certain type of this is a weird thing, like social class thought. You know, because they think that there is a class system still. And occasionally playing with the different class systems is really great. You know, if you're somebody who is really bogged down by the system, or you think that you are not part of it, or you feel like you are, and you're in fear of certain types of garments, or you're in fear of certain types of cars, or you have this obsession with what another person has, or you have a non-obsession, which is an obsession kind of, in a sense. You know, I don't care about nice dresses and nice cars and nice, you know, big houses. Like, I would actually dare you, between March and July, while it is retrograde, actually, to consider yourself as all things. And perhaps 2 days you spend in the wild, living out of a tent with canned food, or like really basic vegetables, and then 2 days later, have a look if you can stay at one of the most expensive hotels in your town. And then 3 or 4 days later, maybe you can spend a lot more on your supplies. Like, say, if you love drawing, buy the best. And then, for example, for 2 or 3 weeks, you do nothing, and you just sit there with your paints inside, and you drink tea, and perhaps, you know, you're on a detox, so you have very simple food, and you just paint. So see if you can change up how you stretch and contract due to money being a factor in your life, what you think you can afford and what you think you can't. So things like that, I feel, have got to stop. Where we're walking past certain stores, or we are looking at certain people online, or, you know, in person, we think, oh, that's money. Like, it's not for me. Anything to do with removing of oneself away from what we consider as beyond human nature. You know, beyond human. But he's got so much. He's a millionaire. It's almost like people that are beyond this world are not actually beyond this world. We've placed them there because we're afraid of that energy. This is part of the fear spectrum, although it is not a conscious fear anymore. I feel that the conscious fear towards money and towards things that are of wealth and stuff is kind of going. But the thing that I feel is left is this kind of stereotypical commercial dream. It's like a commercial dream. So what I'd like to also say to you, perhaps, is from July till October 2018, I would definitely not spend. And this is the reason. I think that July till October has got a very cunning time where we can put a lot of pressure on ourselves to finalize something, like sign, like, say, a deal. Where we are paying something to somebody, or we, like, say, signing for a new flat, or we're signing for something that is considering us as a money source. And I feel that when we come out of this by October the 16th, perhaps 2018, we might notice that we don't want to do that at all, especially if it is an ongoing payment, or if it is a payment that's been one-off and you thought that you would benefit from it. You might not want it. So, for example, you might find that you especially if it is something very, very, feels really good, you know. Yeah, I always thought that I would invest in my own place. So July till October, Jupiter is going into shadow. It's like it's a very weird time. So this time is a great time to wonder more, to think about things, to think where I want to go. So if you never planned your life before, if you never thought you wanted something, if you never really thought you would be right for the media, if you never thought you would want to enter the competition or a certain type of context, July 10th is a really nice time to start to prosper in dreams and thoughts and ideas and, oh, what is this? What is that? And connecting, considering other people, walking around, you know, getting free gigs, you know, doing things that are almost like on show, but they're not to do with any kind of sound, practical advice, investment, and things that feel really kosher, but they will eventually either not leave, but you want them to, like, say, payments that just never stop, or it may be that you pay for something, you expect to receive it in one piece, and it comes in, say, November. Say, for example, you ordered a product in October, and then it came in and it is in pieces. So definitely July till October, it's not such a good time to invest. What to do with money? December the 12th marks an interesting time where we can finalize spending in certain directions. So for example, today I'm leaving New Zealand, so I suppose my bank account in New Zealand is going to get closed. I'm going to create a new account in Australia again. I'm going to Melbourne. It is interesting to see no longer spending on something, or you are no longer talking about something, or you are no longer really deeply wanting something. And for some ladies or people that find male energy attractive, because Jupiter sometimes is the male counterpart in the chart, we may not find a certain type of person attractive, or we may no longer spend time looking for somebody, or we may no longer interest in a certain type of archetype. And another thing that I feel also actually for the ladies, from December the 12th, I'm feeling that there is a might that wakes up within one, though it is mighty, mighty fine, meaning that there is a might inside that is like, well, I can just do the thing. I can actually do the thing. And it is unapologetic energy. And I feel for some of us, it might be very, very strange to see another person feel this, or ourselves finally acclimatized to the fact that we sometimes, pretend that we care, but we don't actually care. So this might of the carer for only the important stuff, or the person who is becoming more legitimized and more pristine and streamlined about what they do care about and what they don't care about, where they do invest their time or money or where they don't. They can become very, very passionate for some people, so don't go too passionate with it, but it also can become very corrupting for others. If they, for example, finally see that they've come out of one cycle and they got into another, take careful steps, especially if you're somebody like myself and you fly all over the world, you don't care, you run around, you do lots of things. So have a look at how you can perhaps minimize your impact on others. If you are suddenly feeling that there is an empathetic imbalance, or there is a new balance, or there is an empathy that's never been, or there is a cycle starting where you don't care about people that you used to say dream about, think about, feel about. And for some of us, it's like a saving moment, So from December, we might feel that we're being saved from our emotional states. Like suddenly, I don't care. I don't care. I can just laugh. And that's a beautiful thing. But for some of us, I do definitely feel that we have to take this a step at a time. So, yelling out to people, I don't care about you, or like, you've done this to me, or anything like that is really harsh. So have a look at the new empathy structure, the new empathy cycle, and see what you can do with that. And yes, enjoy your transit. I'd say my experience so far has been that the empathy cycle has been very strong. The empathy change, the shift from obsession to just absolutely nothing has been quite a strong one. The shifting from needing and caring and wanting is gone. It's really incredible. So if you are using your time correctly, perhaps. And if you want to jump online, have a look at my blog as well, because I outline day by day. Perhaps you will see that there are a lot of people that you know and that you care about, or you have in your life, that you just don't have to pay attention to anymore. So have a look at who those people are, and maybe what those experiences are. Maybe an exercise is not doing it for you anymore. Maybe a skincare routine isn't doing it for you anymore. Maybe a group of friends, maybe a brand of something isn't doing it for you anymore. So have a look. And yes, I've actually also got these almanacs. Just a minute. Okay, so this is my almanac. So this is my almanac for 2018. It's a really nice thing. So basically, it's a really nice little tool for the year 2018. It is a planner, and if you'd like one, they're on sale on my website through Amazon. So have a look online. And perhaps you don't have to, go to my blog and check up things all the time. It's basically all there, which should be pretty straightforward. And I hope that you like it. Enjoy your Jupiterian transit and have a wonderful time.